Hello and welcome to our hormonal wellness webinar series. My name is Abby. I am a holistic nutritionist and herbalist, and I have a blog called The Butter Half where I share wellness tips for the family and gluten-free recipes. We are so excited to have Lena Schwen with us today, but first I'm going to have Jennifer introduce herself, my co-host.
Hi everybody, I'm Jennifer Cordilla. I'm a yoga teacher, a writer, and an Ayurvedic student here in Brooklyn. And I also have a blog called Be Nourished, where I share about yoga and wellness and general self-care practices rooted in yoga and Ayurveda.
So as I mentioned, Lena Schwen is a certified holistic nutritionist, founder of Holistic Lena, where she offers courses, seminars, and writings on plant-based cooking, essential oils, parenting, hormonal health, and helping women create a healthy lifestyle. So Lena, we are so excited to have you here today. Lena is going to be sharing about the topic of gut health. It's linked to serotonin and how we can integrate herbal wellness practices into our lifestyle with ease. So welcome.
Welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here with you.
Thank you, Lena. So yeah, let's jump right in with that first question. How can we understand the relationship between our gut and kind of our mood? There's so much information out there now about gut health and the microbiome. So tell us, what is really the connection between serotonin, this hormone that helps us regulate our moods, and the things that are going on in our gut and our digestive system?
Yeah, serotonin is such an interesting thing. It's basically nature's antidepressant. And it's been so incredible to see the research that's been done lately in relation to the brain and gut connection. I met with my psychiatrist, I don't know, probably almost 10 years ago, and he said they were just basically brand new into this idea, diving in head first. And now, 10 years later, it's being basically prescribed to all people that walk in to get mental health. The idea of looking at your food. How are you taking care of your body? Are you on a probiotic? These little, simple, tiny shifts that can make such a big impact on our health. And one of the things that I want to touch on is that the microbiome, or anything really that involves your digestive system, is a complicated topic, but it doesn't need to feel overwhelming. If you were to just break it down and really simplify everything, what we're looking at here is an environment in our body that is so fascinating. And it makes me even more grateful every day to take care of my stomach and my gut, because I know how much it affects every single system in my body. And more importantly, my mood. As a mom of 4 boys, I have to make sure that I am present with them, that I am aligned with myself, and my intention is set for the day. And the best way that I can do that is by finding that moment every day to take care of myself. Those little tiny moments of self-care make such an impact on my mood. And those moments of self-care include taking care of my digestive health. When we talk about the microbiome, really, it's like a topic I could talk about all day. Abby knows that it's like a passion of mine. It's how her and I connected initially. And it's basically an entire ecosystem in your body. 90% of the cells in your body are made up of bacterial cells. The other 10% is our human cells. So there are trillions of these living microorganisms that make up this ecosystem within your digestive tract. And that GI tract can include everything from up top all the way down into our hind gut. But the most important thing to really consider is, what are you consuming that can affect this microbiome? The microbiome has these little neuropods, if you will, and they're attached to the villi. The villi is like a velvety surface on your intestinal lining, and that villi really determines, and the health of that villi really determines how you feel, because these neuropods that are attached to the villi on the tips there have a communication system with the enteroendocrine cells, and those cells are what communicate with our vagus nerve in our brain. And that vagus nerve in our brain is what helps to release that serotonin. In fact, 90% of the serotonin within our body that we experience as humans is released from the digestive tract. And that whole brain-gut connection is what aligns us in our day. If we don't have a mindfulness and an intention set on how we treat our microbiome and how we care for it, it really determines our output, right? Everything we feel on the outside is just a story being written down there.
I love that.
It's really interesting that you bring up the enteric system, because I know that's one of these kind of more new areas of science, especially relating to the other parts of the nervous system, which we can talk about with regards to hormones as well, you know, the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And then we also have the enteric nervous system, which is regulating all these other things. So it really shows how all these pieces are connected. So that's really fascinating how, you know, talking about stress, which we've talked about in other parts of this series, and how that affects our hormones, and how that stress also affects our digestion. And there's kind of this other pathway from the digestion upward, or outward everywhere. So it's wonderful to hear that, and understand and really have that visual of how everything is connected, inside of our bodies. That's great. So in all of these things that you mentioned, these like little moments of self-care, there are so many products that we have been able to get access to, in the terms of food, of course, but also vitamins and supplements and skincare or topical products. Are there things that you go to every day for yourself, or when you're working with clients, that you recommend as kind of universal things that can help us really foster that microbiome, that healthy microbiome, but also give us, you know, an improved mood with all of the distractions and stressors that can come at us every day?
Yeah, I absolutely have my go-tos. And I think it's important to understand too a little bit about my background so that I can like speak to these products specifically. I kind of got down the path of self-care and healing in my body when it was presented to me that I had to basically save my kids' lives. They were born at 28 weeks gestation, which is 12 weeks premature. And through that process of really watching them fight for their lives every single day, I felt helpless. I felt like, what can I control and how can I contribute to their healing? And so I dove headfirst into what's really causing these problems and how can I reach for things in my environment that can just up-level their health and fast forward their healing. And one of the ways that I found worked the very best was food and nutrition. And it's so mind-boggling to people because people just walk around completely oblivious to the fact that what they eat is affecting how they feel. And so I'm here to say that there's a huge correlation, and it has everything to do with how you feel. So first things first, you know, I was caring for them through my milk, and I had to write down every single thing that I ate on every bottle that I pumped so that if they had a reaction to it, I could eliminate that from their diet. And then that just brought me down, like I went down the rabbit hole and just felt consumed by this idea of how food can be so healing and how we can use it as medicine. And through those studies, I realized, and through my holistic nutrition certification, I realized that so much of what we eat is really lacking in what we really need. And it's not anything that we could control. It's not anything we could prevent. Even if you buy whole foods from a farmer's market and you're there every Sunday and buying things fresh and they're in season, you will still have a depletion within the nutrients based on how your body receives that nutrition. So there's a synchronicity between, you know, the quality of the foods you're eating versus how your body can absorb those foods.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? Why are the foods not nourishing us? Because that seems so counterintuitive. You know, I buy my kale, I buy my in-season produce, and how come it's not nourishing me enough?
Yeah, I mean, this is a much deeper discussion, but I'll just kind of briefly give you an overview. My dad's a farmer. He just has a beautiful vineyard up north in California. And so I've really grown up with this thought and this ideology that, like, man, pesticides and chemical runoff really destroy the quality of the soil. And there's nothing we can do to prevent that. There are so many regulations within the FDA now that, and just like farmers in general, these different certifications that they have to have and different licenses that they need in order to keep the food on the shelves. They're not able to sell it to grocery stores or have it in anywhere and locally for people to buy unless it meets a certain standard. And unfortunately, those standards decrease the quality of nutritional content. And let me just say too, to like back this up a little bit and take a bird's eye view, there are 10 companies that own every brand that you see at a typical grocery store. And so with that comes, you know, this interesting look at what the financial benefits are and how can we get foods on the shelves the most efficient, most effective way, irregardless of how they're affecting our bodies. So the deeper topic on, you know, what foods we should be eating and are those foods even good for us really needs to start with what are we eating in the first place? what's in these ingredients. You look at those labels and they're just chock full of sugar. Sugar has 52 different secret names that it's hidden under. And so if we dig deeper and we really look at like the quality of the foods that we're eating, even if you shop from the outside parameter of the grocery store, you're still lacking that nutritional content. Maybe that produce sat in a container to be cooled for 6 months while it was waiting to be sold at your grocery store. Sometimes apples, it's up to 9 months. So if you're looking at, you know, this meal or this recipe you want to prepare and you're thinking like, why isn't this tasting like it did last fall when I made it? Maybe it's the quality of the food that you bought. Maybe it was a different time of year and it was out of season when it was picked. Most of the foods that we're consuming today, unfortunately, are picked prematurely so that they don't spoil in transport to the grocery store before they make it to your home. And so whether those green bananas or those light colored tomatoes or whatever it is that you're looking at now and bringing home, it's not going to taste the same, because when you pick it off the vine or you take it up from the root prematurely, it really lacks that ability to mature. And then the worst part about it for our bodies is that it doesn't contain the enzyme content that your body needs to be able to process it, absorb it, and use it as energy in your body.
Yeah, that's a big story. And thank you for diving into it as much as you did. So in this case, though, what can we do to kind of supplement these nutrients that we used to be getting from the food itself?
Yeah, I mean, to tap back into what I was saying about my first like step into this world and really discovering where we needed support in our bodies and in my family and how to keep my kiddos healthy, I did tons of research and I made sure that I dove headfirst into like the quality of supplements that I found and, you know, the absorbency, like, am I going to actually benefit from these things? And I really appreciated the transparency of a company called doTERRA. They have a supplement line that really meets the nutritional needs of not only me and, you know, my partner, but also my family. And I think it's really important for kids to have their needs met. Sometimes we just overlook that and think like, oh, here's a gummy vitamin, like take this. But a gummy vitamin is just that, it's a gummy bear. And so there's no absorption. Maybe 5% of what was intended to actually reach the body and give your body nutrients and trace minerals is really occurring. So the company that I mean, I can show you, I have them right here if you want, Jennifer, but this little line here, these are just basically a multivitamin, which has your, like, everybody is in need of like your A, your B, your C, B12, CoQ10, magnesium, fiber, potassium. You want to have all of these supplements in your system every day that maybe you're not getting from your diet. And so taking it in its whole food form is really what has been the biggest difference, I think, for me in my health. And just noticing that in the way that I feel. Because typically, like before I started taking these quite a few years ago, I would reach for things and get to the bottom. Like I thought eating pita chips and hummus was super healthy. So I'd eat some pita chips and then maybe get to the bottom of the bag and think like, oh my goodness, how did this happen? But what I was doing is my body, it was like mechanically eating something, trying to fulfill a need. And what wasn't being met were my nutritional needs. Maybe I was having that like, you know, sensation in my mouth that was giving me some sort of satisfaction, but at the end, I wasn't satisfied because my nutritional needs weren't being met. So this whole food supplement is exactly that. On the back, you'll see it comes from those plants themselves, and it has all of the trace minerals and vitamins that your body is in need of to meet your nutritional needs for the day. And then also the omega-3s are super, super important. This is like a whole other topic too, but basically omega-3s, DHA, and fatty acids are not produced in the body, but they are something that we need. Our entire body is made out of fatty acids. Something like 87% of all the tissues in our body are made up of this particular substance. And if we don't have something to sustain that and to really fuel the body, it's going to lean towards inflammation. It's going to lead towards autoimmune disease. It's going to lead towards all sorts of these digestive and hormonal imbalances based on the fact that your body has to work in overdrive to compensate for all the inflammation happening elsewhere, whether it's your joints or whatever. So, and then the third one that's in this little trio here is an antioxidant blend. And so it really truly works with the mitochondria of your cells. I think that's probably the number one epidemic with women is just fatigue, adrenal fatigue, just feeling tired and run down all the time. Our lifestyle, you know, we don't get enough sleep. We're eating too much processed foods and sugars. we have kids, or maybe you don't, but it's just like life is heavy. Every woman has a ton of responsibilities. And so it's not your fault that you're tired. But what's great is that you can, reach towards something that is working with your body chemistry, and it's not a stimulant, which I appreciate. I think sometimes it's really easy to reach towards coffee or something caffeine to boost you up, but that's just a Band-Aid over what's a much deeper issue. And if we can support the body at that cellular level, then your body can continue to heal as you are gaining these benefits. So the other two is this enzyme blend. This Terrazyme is great. I know, Abby, you love this one too. It's basically a way to support your body with nutritional benefits as you are consuming food. So you take 2 of them before you eat a meal, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, knowing that the enzymes you're getting from those foods are not in its highest content. This will help to break down the foods you're eating and support the body so that you're using those foods as energy. A lot of times when you age, well, everyone, we're born with a certain number of metabolic enzymes, and over time those deplete. And as they deplete, your body has a harder time processing foods. And that's just by nature. That's just how things work. And it's a form of ageism, right? It's just the status quo and how things go. So I love that my digestive enzymes can support that process of digestion. But the greatest thing about this is that it helps to also balance your hormones. So how it does that is these enzymes, you have enzymes all throughout your body. They start to develop the minute you start thinking about food even. And they're in your mouth, and they help to support the body through that eating and the GI tract through the digestion. But the same thing with the enteroendocrine cells is that you have this communication system within your digestive tract that is telling your brain how to support the body. And so this, with its anti-inflammatory properties, can also support your hormone function. And last but not least, I have to show you this one because it's so amazing. It's their probiotic. You can see it kind of looks almost like from another planet. It's kind of like gnarly looking. It's because the inside is the living microorganisms. There's 6 billion of them. And it's protected in a UV layer. And then the outside has a protective layer as well called prebiotics. And so the probiotic and prebiotic combination is really supportive to your digestive tract, because what it's going to do is it's going to protect those super vulnerable and very delicate probiotics to make it through the stomach acid all the way down to your hindgut, so that it can actually repopulate the gut and the microbiome with this healthy bacteria. And this is one that has had just tremendous effects on my mental health. I have seen just every single day, I notice if I don't take it the night before. So from speaking from experience, I know that it has powerful effects on how I face my day and how my feelings present themselves, whether I'm anxious or not. I can tell if I've taken my probiotic. And it's just going back to that idea of the brain-gut connection. It's a real living thing. And I think the discussion there is just beginning. It's really fascinating, the research being done.
That is fascinating. Thank you, Lena. And we'll definitely include links to all of those supplements that you mentioned in the email that you'll get with this recording, so people can follow up on them. For our last question and the last couple of minutes, maybe you can speak to anything else that might affect our digestive health. All of the things that you've spoken to so far are things that we consume, and obviously that has a huge impact on how we digest and what we digest. But are there other things that we interact with during our lives, or even other just routines or habits that we might find ways to improve so that we get that benefit of all of the nutrients that we're consuming, whether it's from supplements or food?
Yeah, no, this is probably I could get emotional about this one, because I have found the most healing in my body from really showing up for myself in Kundalini meditation. I mean, you and I have talked about this, but whether it's Kundalini or whether it's, your own form of meditation, the Heads Up app or Insight, whatever app or program or thing you look up that works for you, it's just a moment in my day, 5, 10, 15 minutes, sometimes 30 if I'm really lucky, where I can really ground myself in who I am and feel my breath, just connecting with that breath and knowing that I exist and that I have something to contribute to the world and that I see myself, and I give myself a ton of grace because, you know, we're all going through life's transitions and there's always something new that's happening. But if I can be in control of who I am and how I show up for myself, it makes such a difference. And really the biggest connection with like lowering our stress and regulating our hormones is being able to connect with yourself. And so the cortisol spike within the amygdala takes up to 10 hours to come back down in a typical person that doesn't have, you know, breath work or something they're working on in connecting with themselves. But if you have a meditation practice, or if you have a self-care moment of your day where it's really carved out specific to you, it's the first thing I teach in all of my workshops is connecting with yourself. More than anything else, it's the most important thing. And it's the first thing that people completely like disregard, right? It's the first thing that people put by the wayside and think like, I don't need to do that because I don't have time. And they don't think it makes a difference, when in actuality, it makes the biggest difference in your healing, right? It's showing yourself that you're putting you first.
And that piece of it is completely accessible to all of us. We don't need special food or supplements or tools or products. All that you need is the time and the space to be able to breathe and tune in. So I think that's a really important takeaway for everyone who's watching, that, you know, of course, the supplements that Lena mentioned are wonderful and can totally aid in your healing process. But taking that time for yourself is going to make everything else that you do, whether it's food that you consume or other products that you use, it's going to make them work so much better. So thank you for that reminder.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Lena. I think we'll wrap it up there, but we'll be in touch with everybody with a follow-up with all of the resources that Lena shared. And of course, you can ask us any questions, Abby or I, on social media or by email. So we'll look forward to seeing you and hearing from you.
Thanks, Lena.